Hey guys. Hey guys, Sammy here from the Ohio Fisherman, and I've got a question for you. If you could use one bait, and just one bait for the rest of your life, to catch largemouth bass in any condition, what would it be? So in other words, what's to you the best bait out there? Well, for me, that bait would have to meet three criteria. It would have to work in any weather condition, or most weather conditions. It would have to catch big bass, and it would have to be usable in different, structures and different depths of fishing and different areas of cover, like weeds and rocks and woody cover. So there are a number of different. Actually a ton of different lures out there. Where you got your top water, your spinner baits, chatterbaits, jigs, crankbaits, plugs. You got your worms, creature baits, crawfish, tubes, and that list just goes on and on. So, what's the best? To me, it would have to be swim jigs. And there are a few reasons for that. And the best reason is that it fits those three criteria that I laid out earlier. You can use it in different cover. They work extremely well in weeds and rocks and woody cover. They're fishable in all different kinds of depths. They catch a really good bass, and they work throughout the year. I mean, they do have their drawbacks. I mean, they're not as flashy as other lures, but when it comes down to it, swim jig's a really good bet. So let's take a minute to look at my favorite swim jig setup. I have it right here. It is a Strike King swim jig in a kind of a crappie color. You got your black top, white sides with a little bit of bloody red in there for some good measure. And my favorite trailer to put on there would be the net bait package chunk, and this particular one's Okeechobee Craw. So I would use this bait in the summer. I didn't really start using swim jigs until this summer, but once I did, I really, really loved them because they just worked. Quite simply, they just worked, and they caught good fish when other stuff wouldn't. So why does the swim jig work? I mean, there's not any moving parts. I mean, you got these things flapping around there on the trailer, but that's not the jig itself. That's the trailer. So why? Well, swim jigs are made to imitate bait fish, and like your panfish, your crappie, your bluegill, and then shadhorn and panfish are bait fish, but they're made to look like those kinds of fish that the bass most commonly eat, and they have a nice big profile in the water. I mean, the skirt puffs out and makes it look bigger. And a big bass is more likely to eat a big fish over a small fish simply because it's more food. And food is energy, and energy is surviving. So that bass wants to survive, so it eats bigger food. I mean, that's the entire reason why they have big mouths. I mean, evolutionary selection. So that is my favorite lure. I'm sure you guys have yours for reasons of your own. But here's why I don't like some of the other ones. The crankbaits and your minnow plugs as well. You can't use them in woody and weeds. They're terrible. They're just terrible in the weeds. They just suck in the weeds, honestly. I mean, they're wonderful for open water fishing. They do a really good job for the same reason the swim jig does well. They have a larger profile. This is crankbaits. They have a larger profile and a nice action that bass really do like. But you can't get them in the weeds, which is where bass spend a lot of their time in the summer. So I tend to stick with crankbaits earlier in the year and later in the year. So spinners. Spinner baits are great for when the bass... Thought I had to sneeze there, or cough there, but I didn't. Anyway, spinner baits. The flash can scare the bass away. I mean, there's really nothing that shiny in the water. That's more of a reaction strike from the bass if they hit the spinner at all. Spinners are good for when you're in a new area of water that you don't know much about and you're trying to find the fish. That's what spinners are good for. Chatterbaits, same thing. What else? Oh yeah, your worms and stuff. They're nice. They're a very versatile lure, and they obviously work. But in my experience, I've been able, in the middle of the day, I've been able to pull bass out of the water more often and better bass with jigs than I have with worms. And that's because worms, for me, to get them to work, I can't have a lot of weight on the line. You know, you got the bullet weights to get down into the weeds, but I can't have that much weight on it to get it to work, to get the action that you really want out of it. That's not the case all of the time, but simply that happens, and you don't get the action out of it that you really want. So worms are good, but they're not great. So what else does that leave us with? Topwater. Topwater is a good strategy for morning and fall. No, not fall. Morning and afternoons. Just because that's when the bass hit topwater more often. You don't really get a strike on poppers in the middle of the day. You can, but not really that often. Because once the sun comes over, those bass will just get into the sun and they just kind of want to warm up. And that's not all the time. You know, fishing is a weird sport. There's like so many different factors that can that affect the fish. And basically, to sum it up, all the factors are handled better with a swim jig than any other bait, in my opinion. So if you don't use jigs, there's something to try out. I know I've had a lot of success with them, and if you try them, you will too. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.